convicted as such. Also, it says here that Boost begins petroleum product re-export. Is poised to lead downstream oil industry transformation. Yesterday we spoke about the junior graphic, and yes, it's coming out, so get your copies as is being indicated. Now on the center spread, actually, it says that Vice President calls for sustainable food security in the sub-region. Now, it says political commitment is the only way to salvage our countries from rudimentary systems of production and ensure high yields and large-scale outputs of our food crops. Also, on food and crops, it says here that U.S. is set to support the agriculture sector under the new initiative dubbed Mobilizing Finance for the Agriculture Sector. Now, they are putting in $26 million, and also this is designed to leverage about $260 million. This project, they are anticipating, will bring in $16 billion in the next 8 years when it comes to the agriculture sector. Now, also on the back page of the Daily Graphic, it says that the Ghana Health Service phases out methylated spirits. And so if you've had kids before, or if you've seen children being treated, especially around the umbilical cord, you know that usually they use the methylated spirit to wipe just to make sure it doesn't get infected. Apparently, the Ghana Health Service is replacing the methylated spirit treatment with another one. Also, it says that 6 convicted over sanitation crimes in Clote.
Okay, so let me do the National Enquirer. On its front page, I see a big story that we are glossing over, but I see it as a national security issue because of what has happened in Nigeria and some of the Asian countries. The headline here says, religious banter, Christian Council clashes with Chief Imam's office. You know, it all started with Wesley Girls and their decision to not to allow some of the Muslim students to fast. Now, the Muslims have been reacting. The MPs have reacted. The Chief Imam's office has reacted. Now, the Methodist Church issued a strongly worded statement. Then the Catholic Bishop Council also issued a statement. Then the Christian Council issued a joint statement with them specifying their position. And I've seen calls for apologies and so on and so forth. Now, it is boiling gradually. We may gloss over it, but when it gets extreme, it can be very dangerous. And so that's the story on the front page of the National Enquirer newspaper. The Daily Dispatch, all can testify to how we excellently executed the 2020 election. EC's Dr. Bosman Asare is seeking attention. I heard him yesterday saying the EC has no problem with the NDC, and we know the NDC has boycotted them as far as the 2020 election and its review is concerned, and there are so many issues in there. The back page says 20% of the Ghanaians, that's 20% of Ghanaians have various forms of mental illness. That's on the back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
I do agree. A lot of people are, you know, having a lot of mental breakdowns, etc., that they don't seek attention for, and so it gets into something else. I'll also continue with the Chronicle. Now, this story reminded me of you, actually. It says, your charges are not properly laid. Judge tells police prosecution team. This has to do with the story you have been talking about, the alleged national security operatives who were arrested in the Tiwa forest for galamsey.
No, you see, it's very sad, Abena. Government embarked on a mission to stop galamsey. It got total support. It raised resources that we then don't have to build roads or schools or refurbish roads to fight galamsey. It ended up with the stories you know. Government officials neck deep inside. None has been prosecuted. Then after the elections, we turn around and claim that we want to have a national discourse on how to fight it. And then it emerges that national security operatives are involved. They are arrested by community members. This was last week. They were handed over to the Eastern Regional Police Command. They were brought to the police CID headquarters. They go to court yesterday, and the court tells them that the AG's department has not given any advice or charges. And so I cannot deny them. He declined to give them bail, and she declined to give them, how do you call it, to remand them. So they are back in the police custody. So last week till now, we have not been able to proffer charges on them when they were caught red-handed. What signal is this sending to small-scale miners who are crying now that there's discrimination?
But other people say the economy is fine. So CID also probes into the OWAS, St. Louis and others over alleged fraud in free SHS feeding. Now there's a story here that got me smiling. I mean, it's a serious story, but sometimes the way it's captured. It says Daniel Siedu, a.k.a. Sexy Don Don, the young man who has been accused of murdering the former member of parliament for Ibuakwa North, Joseph Boachi Dankwa, has made an oral request to an Accra High Court to subpoena the Ghana Police Service to produce records of calls placed to the security informing it about the murder of the MP.
So it's 7 o'clock. Wisdom will join us, but see the front page of the Business and Financial Times. When I return for the newspaper review segment, I'll tell you what the details are. So we'll go for a break.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crash.
Sure.
Check, auto checks. Check, auto checks. Check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks. Check, auto checks.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia edi atre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre miye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa akwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekuokuo bosia, susu account, and that's all our savings account. Me bada chain savings account and then the keka home. Suhum Rural Bank was 034229186. Now one so what to me aka say.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Me damwase.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
It's another day again. Good morning and many thanks for joining Vanos in Braver Morning Update. Coming up this morning, big boost for fully owned Ghanaian Jata Cement as Trade and Industry Minister gives thumbs up to Ibrahim Mahama for bold initiative set to revolutionize the local construction industry. Details coming up. Also, Finance Minister's attempt to douse the hashtag Fix the Country campaign backfires as government receives harsh criticisms. And later this morning we'll tell you reality dawns on Tema West residents as doom timetable takes effect with affected communities experiencing 12-hour of power outages for the next days until May 17. And later, small-scale miners fight back, accusing government of targeting them. We shall hear via cry details of these and other stories coming up. Please stay with us. My name is Wisdom Hedejo. Many thanks for your company this morning. As always, let's begin the bulletin from the court, because a district court in Accra yesterday denied to either remand or bail the alleged national security operatives arrested by community members and forest guards for undertaking mining in the Etiwa forest in the eastern region. Now, presiding judge Ms. Amma Ajumako Kwache ruled that the state had not provided before it a written consent from the Attorney General Office to prosecute the case. In the court view, there was no case before it and therefore could not consider the issue of bail or remand. This is more than a week after the suspects were handed over to the Eastern Regional Police Command before their transfer to the police CID headquarters. All 11 accused are back in police custody. Meanwhile, 21 more self-acclaimed operatives of the national security allegedly engaged in illegal mining are said to be in custody of the National Bureau, the National Intelligence Bureau, I should say. Now, police prosecutor ASP Sylvester Asari told the district court to refuse the bail application filed by the defense lawyers. Now, we still stay in the Galamsey space and the fight against illegal mining, because the small-scale miners in Ghana are fighting the new approach to fight illegal mining. Now, they say they like the failed exercise before the 2020 elections. Government seemed to be interested in protecting the concessions of multinationals, while licensed indigenes in the country have been neglected. The Association of Small-Scale Miners in Ghana, who addressed a news conference, said the indiscriminate seizure and burning of excavators without recourse to due diligence has affected some of their members. They are demanding that the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, who seem unconcerned, orders an immediate halt before more harm is done to legitimate Ghanaian investors in the local mining industry. Now, the aggrieved members told the media at one of their sites at Trifu Ntrewaso in the Trifu Kwama district of the central region. They have no alternative than to hit the street if the soldiers deployed continue the burning spree. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan is a spokesperson for the small-scale miners.
We are giving the government an ultimatum of 7 days to address these concerns, or expect 3 days intensive nationwide demonstration by NASAM in all cities and towns in this country. By so doing, we thank you and we expect a quick response from the government as well as the Minister in charge of Land and Natural Resources. There are other places whereby this so-called burning is still taking place. Some at Dunkao district, whereby military are there as we speak, doing the burning of excavators. And we don't know where that thing came from.
Now let's talk about the local industry. And it started in 2011, and in 2016, after the elections, rumors were arrived that the project has been suspended. But that is the opposite. Today, Jata Cement, a fully owned Ghanaian cement producing factory, is ready to break the duopoly and to revolutionize the construction industry in Ghana. TVX as a news joined a team of journalists when the Trade Minister Alan Kojo Chemating toured the facility yesterday.
Jata Cement Company is a fully Ghanaian-owned cement processing factory located in Tema. Construction began in 2011 and the factory is now fully complete with production line ready for the market demand. Located on a 10-acre land near the Tema port, Jata Cement has the capacity to produce an average of 120 bags per minute from the 2 production lines. Owned by Ghanaian businessman Ibrahim Mahama, who also owns Engineers and Planners, the factory, the first fully owned indigenous cement factory, currently employs 400 people directly. A couple of days ago, senior presidential advisor Yao Osafo-Mafu toured the facility. His satisfactory remark has influenced government interest, especially in times of need for favorable partners in the supply chain to facilitate projects in the construction industry, particularly roads and housing. Yesterday, Minister for Trade and Industry Alan Chemanting, accompanied by other government officials, commended the business mogul Ibrahim Mahama for the foresight after an official tour of the cement factory.
The level of investment is very significant. I think when it's completed, you are talking about an investment of over $100 million when all the phases of the project is completed. And you can imagine that this is not chicken feed. And just the courage to get into this level of investment, I think, is worth commending.
Phase 1, which is currently completed, produces the jumbo bags, which is setting the pace for the takeoff of the second phase, and that of Phase 3, which will focus on grinding of raw materials used. Samples have been tried and tested to ensure fineness, consistency, soundness, heat of hydration, among others. The bagged cement produced and packaged beautifully with the embossment of a lion's image. Jata is the local name of a lion. This will be the highest single cement factory in Ghana when fully operational. Trade Minister Alan Kojo-Chemanting said, after the domination of the industry by monopoly and other foreign companies coming in, it is commendable that a Ghanaian businessman has ventured into the sector with huge potential for government benefit.
And number one development challenge is to identify job opportunities for our teeming youth. And that's why I'm happy that this is going to also contribute to the potential for job creation.
Managing Director of Jata Cement, Nana Acha, who also briefed the media, said the plan to treble its capacity in the second phase and third phases when completed to meet local demand.
And so our slogan or mantra has been that we are building for generations. It's because we have started this in the year 2021, and I believe it will linger on or to go on for generations even yet unborn. There are so many plans, and for this particular phase, 1.2 million tons capacity. Very soon we'll double this capacity, and that is only for the bag segment. If we add selling directly to project side, the capacity in the next few years will be 3 million tons. And by far, our vision is to make sure that we become number one in this country in the next few years.
Ibrahim Mahama, a brother of former President John Mahama, aims at beating competition to make Jata Cement the leading producer in Ghana.
Now let's talk about politics, because the United Cadres Front, one of NDC's strongest branches, has rubbished the attempt by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, as he put it, to throw dust in the eyes of Ghanaians after Dr. Bawumia's failed attempt to douse the flame lit by the hashtag Fix the Country. Chairman of the group, Shine Gava, spoke to TVX Xyz News by phone after their press statement yesterday.
United Cadres Front, one of NDC's strong grassroots base, has been provoked by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's assertion that the Nana Akufo-Addo-led government has done far better than the NDC, but for COVID, especially when he suggested the percentage of borrowing under the NDC far surpasses the 180 billion added to the national debt since 2017. In a statement jointly signed by Keda Shine Gava, National Chairman of the UCF Ghana, and Keda Camillus Zaksisi, the posturing of government and the Finance Minister's attempt to throw dust in the eyes of Ghanaians is shocking. Part of the statement read, "It is high time the MPP got to know that it's one district, one factory, one village, one dam, planting for food and jobs, NAPCO, and even the much-taunted free senior high school policies had all been nothing but sloganeering for power and not for any purposeful development. In fact, it is a matter of common sense that any policy without tangible and pragmatic programs for its execution is just like drawing a map of Africa without Madagascar." Keda Shine Gavet tells TVXYZ News the spontaneous reaction demonstrating anger and disappointment, especially among the youth, reflects perceptions today about the failing Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led government. He spoke in a telephone interview.
We are not seeing anything on the ground. In fact, there's nothing to show. Ask anybody that you at random whether they are seeing any factory in his district, and the person will tell you nothing like that exists. Then you come out and tell us that you have performed better and you have done well than the previous government, that's the Mahama administration. I mean, who is he talking to? He thinks we are children in this country. We know what Mahama has done. Mahama got less, but yet we saw the things that he did with the 56 million that he got. You can see the hospitals. You can see the cheap compounds. You can see the roads that he was constructing before he left power. You can see tangible things. People telling us that we are good, we are fixing this, we are doing this, we are doing that, and yet we are not seeing anything. My brother, this man was talking as if he had got a new girlfriend and was trying to woo into something. These people have given promise right from 2016 thereabouts till now. They are still promising. What is there to prove that they can fulfill what they are saying? He can't do anything. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. You can't say Agrobest fire. It's an offer. They've collected all the money, 180 million. What did they use for? What did they use it for? I think that we are not children anymore. We are wise up.
Meanwhile, Dean of Business School at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, says the politics of debt to GDP ratio has force on the as DAOs does not address challenges bedeviling the country raised by the coalition of #FixThe campaign.
Minister response to #Fix the Country campaigners was another bold attempt to convince Ghanaians after earlier reactions by Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who put out a list of 70 achievements, and other government officials, some of who have since withdrawn and apologized. In his carefully chosen words, Mr. Oforiatta simply assured the nation government is on course and all hands must be on deck.
The decisive and I must say unparalleled measures we took to protect Ghanaians have come at a cost, as seen in the sudden relapse in the debt situation from 62.4% in 2019 to 76.1% in 2020. However, taking a similar sudden rise in debt burdens of countries around the world over the same period may be indicative of the time we live in and where we are coming from. South Africa moved from 62.2% in 2019 to 82.6% in 2020. Rwanda from 50.7% in 2019 to 61.6% in 2020. Zambia 91.9% in 2019 to 119.97% in 2020. And the UK from 85.4% in 2019 to 100.9% in 2020.
But that seems to have provoked some influential Ghanaians. Director of Strategy and Business Operations at Dealers Finance, Joe Jackson, in a Facebook post simply wrote, quote, "The responses from the government are extremely tone deaf. The list of, quote, dodgy accomplishments does not address the growing income inequality or the joblessness." Joe Jackson was part of hundreds of Ghanaians who joined the virtual protest last Sunday. Dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business, Professor John Gachi, who joined discussions on TVXYZ, simply described the comparison of debt to GDP ratio with some African and European countries is misled.
It is easy to compare debt to GDP ratio across African countries. But wait a minute. Who says that the government is borrowing debt to GDP ratio? The government is borrowing an absolute amount, and our interest burden is based on those absolute amounts. In fact, if your debt to GDP ratio reduces today, it does not mean that your interest liability has reduced. So what the government have been playing with over time is to tell us or to compare the debt to GDP ratio that they have with that of NDC as in 2016 and claim that they are better managers of the finances of the country than end it. But with the rebasing that they did, it showed that the debt to GDP ratio in 2016 is much, much lower than the debt to GDP ratio after the end of 2020. Now, go to Japan. US is having a debt to GDP ratio in excess of 100%. If you go to Belgium, they are around 105%. Why is it that they are not suffering for interest payment burden? It's because there are other indicators of the economy that are much more important than debt to GDP ratio. Debt to GDP ratio is actually an indicator to tell you that you shouldn't cross a certain boundary. The ECOWAS convergence criteria have even made it worse for West Africa. While the debt to GDP ratio threshold for the international debt sustainability is 60%, that of the ECOWAS convergence criteria is 70%.
Well, let's meet again tomorrow morning. But for now, that's all time will allow. My name is Wisdom Hedejime. As always, do log on to my xyzonline.com for more news stories and update. Good morning.
Tell me the tell me one what is na me sako fa pani. Hey! Kwati adawrumo, me yonko kwati. Na dawruma. Enu anwumre wo ye aduane asori wura dem ana me fefe me se adabo no. Ana kwati ebere meduro. Eduro de bere me no se losing heba, Mr. Na me sisi me pechi. Ani me ho na matwetwe me. Ani me chese madwonku, ani me sei. Na de na won kan se. Me do futwa so. Empre ho, enya no nko. Wo de losing heba ointment. Me sisi me kotodwe ni me pechi me hona me yaw me ntiwa na etwetwe me nyina me no ye de Israel eko me benefit ko mu yaw na ha no onu bie no eko na malaria ne die etuase de kude
Lawson Herbal Clinic 0242 133 577
enye ma pemfo e ma wo ma omanofo ene mofra wonya mfie dum Lawson Herbal mixture any Lawson ointment ehwo asedaye
Be firm. The system is working. For the system to work, it is a shared responsibility. Muhammad destroyed the country. We are trying to fix it. These are some of the rebuttal statements we have heard in connection to the Fix the Country campaign that has been ongoing on social media. We learned that they wanted to go on a march on the 9th of May, but the police denied that. They went ahead to issue an injunction. The court also agreed, and they have said that they cannot march due to the COVID-19, and they're afraid that people will not observe the protocols that have been put in place. Now, we also heard that some of the conveners were they were invited by the national security, and so they came out later to say that they feel or believe that their phones were tapped into by the national security, because when they got there, they were asked to keep their phones outside before they enter. Also, they believe that it was a way to corner them to meet certain cabinet ministers, because when they went to the national security, they indeed met some of the cabinet ministers. Now, we would want to know what transpired in that meeting. We want to know what they talked about. Now, as I indicated earlier, they said that it was only one person's phone that was put out there, and so he believes that his phone was tapped into. We will be speaking to one of the conveners, Bashira to Ramal Muslim, and she will tell us what actually transpired. Now, we have heard yesterday, was it over the weekend, I was listening to an interview done by Nana Ama McBrown, and one of the actors was saying that the country is working. A lot of insults were rained at her though, but as I indicated, I will let the convener herself speak to us with regards to what has been happening, what is happening, and what they intend to do going forward. Hello, good morning, Bashira too.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well.
All right, so I'll put you on the spot because of some of the comments that we have heard. Are you NDC?
should this question even be necessary?
Because I'm sure you have heard it also that the Fix the Country campaign is being foiled by the opposition, the major opposition party in the country, and so they believe that most of the people behind it are from the NDC. Reason I am asking.
Well, opinions are free and everyone can have one. Right. It doesn't justify every opinion, you know. And one, let me make this very clear that it is not far-fetched if people are very much interested in knowing the truth. I mean that people can dig deeper. Every member of NDC has a membership card. They do attend meetings, they pay dues, and they do all that.
Right.
What is stopping people from actually sitting down and then taking the time to do a research so that if they want to do just propaganda, they can have, they can well inform their people, you know, other than resorting to these Machiavellian tactics of just downplaying and disrespecting people.
Right. I get that, but also I'm sure that you have heard a lot of people saying that combating what you are actually asking for, which is to say that the government should fix the country, because some people do believe there is nothing to be fixed. And also they are saying that even though there is noise about fix the country, you are not exactly stating what you want the government to fix. And so when you're saying fix the country, what do you expect to be fixed?
Well, I said on TV3 yesterday that we are not interested in making a shopping list for the government of Ghana. Government always campaign on messages, and I'm not sure that if you do not have anything, that you do not see anything wrong with the system, you come and campaign that people should vote for you.
Right.
You campaign based on messages, and those messages are well written in black and white in whatever constitution you are using.
Right.
So the NDC campaign on messages, the CTC did, everyone did. Why did Ghanaians vote for you? Then you ask yourself and do a review and an introspection that the reason I was voted for, have I been able to live up to that expectation? You know, and this is not just for the MPP government. We are talking about how over time government have disappointed Ghanaians and government have failed Ghanaians. You know, and the issue about also doing a shopping list for government, like we have to be specific, is that this campaign is not looking at specific issues for government to fix. If they keep saying that we do not have anything peculiar that we are calling on government to fix, why would they call us for a meeting and tell us that, okay, well, the first meeting we went to, we agreed that things are hard, then we are going to put these measures in place. Then on the day that we are doing a virtual process, a finance minister, instead of making we Ghanaians have decided to speak to government on that day, they decided to center themselves on that same day, instead of listening to what we have to say. If they don't know what they have to fix, why would the finance minister waste its resources to do a press briefing, live coverage, you know, to itemize certain things that they think that they have to do? And they mention water, they mention employment. So they don't know what to do.
Well, right. I'm glad you mentioned the finance minister, and you also know that he addressed the nation and stated some of the things that they will be doing. Shouldn't that be enough?
Why should it be enough? I mean, we've been dealing with rhetoric all these times. If rhetoric were enough, you think some of us would just get up and start a campaign. We are saying that the promises have not helped us. It is the promises that we do not want. We should move beyond rhetoric to action. Government needs to do more of a commitment part. Now I'm talking. We are saying you have promised us enough. Then you come back to say that we are fixing the country. Then people start saying that we are doing A, B, C, D to fix the country. And it's not like what the finance minister mentioned are concrete. He said, I will. What does it mean? It means that if they succeed in telling you that, oh, okay, we are working on it, and then you call back, that is the end of it. And also, Ghanaians should note that one of the major aims of this movement is to create a platform for all ordinary Ghanaians to be the ones to talk about their issues. We are also not interested in speaking over people. People have different issues. People have different peculiar issues. So what might be a problem for me will not necessarily be one for you. So you go to a community and their need is water. Others, they will tell you that it's food. Others will tell you it's health. So in the end, if you look at how the campaign, the virtual campaign went, We just said fix the country now. People should write their own messages. And if you go through the messages people wrote different things. It means people have different issues, and those are what we expected, instead of the finance minister centering himself and the government to sit back and go online, look at what people are talking about, then take their time, to get a roadmap on how they are going to respond to the issue in terms of implementation, resource commitment, and resourcing institutions so that they will be able to help us in fixing this nation. Right. But if you decide to center yourself at the moment when you are supposed to sit down and listen to us talk, I mean, it doesn't mean that, excuse my language, it's like people are tone deaf.
Right.
People are not ready to listen. And in any democracy, one of the rules of acting citizenship is for me and you to ensure that government is accountable, there's probity, there's transparency. Right. And it is my right as a citizen of Ghana, if I think things are not going on well, to be able to voice it out and to make sure that government is doing what is right. It is not enough for me to go to the polls to vote. Right. It goes way beyond that. And let me also say this, that gone are the days when Ghanaians will just wait for 4 years, and then on the fourth year, when we are going to the poll, there are issues around governance. People are now asking for accountability. No. This time, we are moving away from that to make sure that right from the onset, there is a system that is checking what government is doing and how government is doing it.
Right. But also there's been arguments that you're being a bit unfair, or is a bit too early to be asking the government to fix the country with regards to the fact that we know what COVID has done to other countries and Ghana as well.
Well, let me say that if they say we have been unfair, has the government of Ghana been fair to anyone? Has government accounted for the COVID fund that we had? Haven't Ghanaians been asking for that as a first step before this campaign started? And I don't know why people keep saying COVID. COVID only came to just expose, how bad our system is. Did we not have people students studying under trees before COVID? Did we not have people having issues with no bed at the hospital syndrome before COVID? Did we not have women and children, dying as a result of maternal and child issues at the hospital? Did we not have issues with the free SHS before COVID? All these issues that are in the system are issues that have been there. I don't know why we want to just keep saying that it's COVID. Yes, granted that COVID might have been the one that threw government off budget. But we also know that government raised enough funds when COVID came. And it was not government personal money. Individuals and private institutions did donate some money to government. Right. If it was serious, you'd notice that in the time of COVID was the time we knew that our health system was in shambles. Because at a point, there was no space for people, and people were encouraged, to isolate in their homes and to be in their homes instead of being accommodated at the hospital. Right. Was it not before COVID? If we have done our work well before COVID, we wouldn't be going through all of these. And also to the fact that if you look at everything that is happening, it is not just about me and you, it is about us. Because COVID was a leveler. COVID didn't know anybody. It didn't know your status. It didn't know your class. It didn't know that you have money or not. We all became the same people because at a point, nobody was able to even travel out of this country to seek health care anywhere.
Right. Now, we heard that you were invited by, when I say you, I mean the conveners were invited by the National Security. Could you quickly, maybe in about a minute or so, tell us what really transpired when that meeting was held?
Well, I think that the matters arising from that meeting, we have spoken about it, and we made a presser around that issue. And I'm sure that there is enough information out there. But if you look at what happened, I think that our problem is that throughout the world today, everyone is calling for the need for social dialogue when issues do happen. Yeah. And all of us are interested in making sure that we resort to social dialogue. And one of the main principles of social dialogue is to be as much as possible bargain in good faith or have a discussion in good faith, where all of us trust ourselves, where all of us believe that when we are talking about issues, we are talking about all the issues in good faith. Right. Unfortunately, that is not the case when we went there. Because if we believe in social dialogue and in the end, we go for a meeting where things do not go the way you have promised us, I think we have the right to ask questions because an ITP calls you from his office, to tell you that I want to meet with you because of a letter of protest we sent to the police.
Yeah.
So they were going to discuss that letter with us. So you go to the police headquarters to meet the ITP and you don't find the ITP and then you are directed to a place. All of us work in formal institutions. And when you work, we know how letters are written in terms of formal things. So if I write a letter to Xyz and I copy the Minister for Information and I copy maybe National Communications Authority or whatever.
Right.
It is possible that if I'm invited for a meeting, some of these partners I have copied will be there.
Yeah.
And I know because I copied them. I kept them information, But if you don't copy people and all of a sudden you go for a meeting and you have different people being there and the one who invited you himself is not there, what does it mean?
Interesting. Now, now that the court is saying and the police as well is saying that you cannot have the match, what is the way forward?
Well, the way forward is that we are talking about fixing the country and fixing the system. We are not interested in distracting that same system we are calling for fixing for. And we want Ghanaians to know that whatever we are doing today, we are doing because of Ghanaians. And we are not interested in any way in terms of risking the lives of Ghanaians. That is why we told Ghanaians that nobody should go to the Independence Day. And look what happened on that day. So it meant that if we had defied that court order to say that we will still go, it means whatever we were calling for was not fair. Because we know the hardship in the country and nobody should be responsible again for using that small money they might have, to depend on to go to the hospital to take care of themselves because security forces decided to attack them. So for us, we are also resorting to using the legal processes that are available to us as much as possible. So on Friday, we did go to the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, the date we were given was 8th of June, which is next month. And our lawyers are still working around the clock to make sure that the court gives us another day for the hearing. As much as possible, the need for us to go for the protest has not been aborted. And we will go for the protest to pass once we have a clearance from the court.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Bashira. We wish you all the best and know that some of us support you because the country needs to be fixed. Thank you for talking to us this morning and do have a good day.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, yeah, I was talking to Bashira Ramal, a Muslim. She is part of the conveners for the Fix the Country movement that we have been talking about. Now, we know that our leaders promise us heaven and earth during campaigns when they know the situation on the ground. Because 2 days after campaign or 2 days after winning elections, they come back to tell us that the system is broke. So-and-so government left debt for us. So-and-so government. Didn't you know this before promising us heaven and earth? Well, we do hope that they fix the country as the finance minister has come out to say or outlined a number of things that they will be fixing. They say it's fixed, but then they come out again to say that they will be fixing. So yes, we keep our fingers crossed and we hope for the best. Eric Anyanyo is on standby for the newspaper review. But before I give him the chair, I want you to know that if you're looking to distribute the extra short mineral water, you can call the numbers that I'm putting out there, 059 627 3546 and 0596 273547. Also, if you need to clear up your black spots, then please get your Black Secrets Makeup facial wipe. Or if you want to look as natural as I'm looking, then please get your Black Secrets makeup as well. Now, if you do have certain diseases as a woman, if you are combating STI, gonorrhea, syphilis, also, even if you're combating infertility, that you may want to look at the Law Sing or Law Care from the Lawson herbal mixture products. Also, if you're a man and you have not been delaying in bed, then you might want to get the Delay Man capsules as well. Or if you are getting body pains, general body pains, also please get the Lawson herbal mixture and get yourself sorted out. Later on in the show, we'll put some numbers on the screen that you can call for further information when it comes to the Lawson brand as well. My name, of course, is Nana Abinat Sewa, and this has been the social segment on the morning update on TV XYZ. As I indicated earlier, Eric Ahianyo is on standby.
I love makeup. Applying it gives me so much joy. But when it's time to take it off, nothing does the job quite like the Black Secret makeup wipes. When I go somewhere and I feel really sweaty, I take my Black Secret wipe and I use it on my face. It picks me up and I don't look as tired as I did when I walked in.
Before I work on a client's face, I like to go over it with Black Secret makeup wipes to make sure the face is clean. It doesn't leave the face dry and tight, but it keeps it soft and moisturized.
Wipe say your bodo. Bakope, and it gets the job done. Or baby, and the smell makes the experience even better.
And who is it? When you're fantastic. No, Pia. So say, dear, we in charge when you feel one casanca. Lawson Delay Man capsules. A mob system go to do my head thing. No bread you must have with Shanka Sanka. No, near. So, Lawson Lotte, Mr. And this is you. I'm always if you want to. You're free to come to I say for. So me boom down and see me dear someone. Me matentia. Lawson Lotte, Mr. Lawson Delay Man capsule. More your boom. More your love. Lawson Love Care Mixture. Lawson Delay Man capsules. Do you know what you feel?
Delay Man capsules. And men do if you do what you do cronkwaneno. And a Law Care Mixture. So a pay for a ma woman new for. Anyone I want if you do what train son can. FD Ashisha sa a jedi and crato imu adja to muse a.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural, mix, mineral, water.
Still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. This is Morning Update. This is TV XYZ, and this is Xyz TV. Send us your text messages 0556 999 999. This morning, I'm with a friend, somebody I've seen, or it's a long time I've set my eyes on him. A gentleman who started something, they will say, discussions, newspaper discussions in Chi. For the first time, they were the pioneers on Asempa FM. And those days, when you hear Edu Asare, you heard the powerful voice behind the argument. He's with me in the studio. Dwasari, good morning.
Good morning.
He's a former member of parliament and also a former presidential staffer. So he's a big man.
Oh.
Charlie, how you think?
They're all in the past.
They're all in the past. So rather you be ordinary. So now you join the Fix the Country campaign.
Oh, well, once I'm a Ghanaian.
Because you are ordinary.
Of course. As a Ghanaian, yeah, it's a good cause for one to be part of. And I mean, as much as I don't want to, because I'm known as an NDC person, and sometimes when issues like this come up and you, like a branded NDC person puts their voice in it, it gives it a different coloration, you know, and people begin to politicize the argument. So as a party, we've decided to stay back and let the
ordinary,
the generic system itself put itself out, because this is organic. It was not instigated or it was not occasioned by any political party. It was a social media explosion, and some of us saw these kind of things coming, and we gave several warnings, and somehow we have been vindicated. So let the system take care of itself. But I believe that as a party, political party, NDC, we must also take a cue from it, because when you see your neighbor's chin or like beard on fire, they say you should fetch water by your side, just in case. So we will draw our lessons from it, and by virtue of whatever is going on, we'll also draw programs that will inculcate some of the ideas that...
So it means that I see some element of an attempt before the 2020 elections, because the NDC manifesto then, as we followed, suggested that it was a people's manifesto.
Exactly.
And so you went to the grassroots, listened to the people, and tailored policies you would have implemented to meet the demand right from the ordinary people. And I see that positive element there, where you say that it is not about MPP, but the NDC obviously should closely monitor and hear out what the people want from government. When Bashiratu spoke, she said it's not about what she is asking for. It is not about what you are asking for. It is about individuals living in various communities, what really bothers them, and how they can actually handle some of those things. So that's where I see the positive aspect. Now, this morning, before we delve into the issues, I witnessed something that has been happening over the last few days. It's about Jata Cement. I believe that between 2017 and 2020, there were all kinds of rumors, to the extent that people suspected there was an attempt to stifle that investment. And so people didn't see that project, which started around 2011, end or complete, or maybe let me put it this way, the engineers on the plant were not seen to have finished the project in record time. But last week, now he's the presidential advisor, Yawasafo Mafo, visited the plant. This was after videos went viral about their production plant putting Jata Cement on the market. And now we have the Minister for Trade and Industry who visited the facility. And it gives an indication of a new era where you see government actually collaborating with businesses, especially when some of those businesses are tagged to belong to people on the other side. What do you make of this development, lessons going forward?
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that the first 4 years of the NPP targeted some, indigenous companies, especially those that they consider to be or to belong to people on the opposite side. And there are several examples of that. The Unibanks, the GN Bank and its allied companies, and several other Heritage, is it Heritage Bank?
Yeah, Heritage
Bank. Yes, Sedu, Agungu, and the other one that I think it was for this Dakun's group. They had one like that. All those companies were collapsed, and nobody can convince me that there was no political connotations to those actions, you know, because there were companies like Prudential or banks like Prudential and others who were also distressed, even worse than some of these banks that eventually got liquidated. You know, so nobody can convince some of us that there wasn't any political connotations to these gestures. You know, so the targets were there, but I believe that governance has so much to teach as you get along. Experience in governance will give you indications that, look, there are some people you cannot crash. You know, you better get them to hang with, because of course, Zoom Lion and others were also part of the earlier plot to descale some of them or to reduce their size and all of that. But over time, they have come to realize that, look, these guys have certain muscles that you cannot break, because they've been in the system for quite a while. They've established their tentacles across board in all the ministries, or they've dealt with various ministries, and they have people who also want them to succeed. You know, so now, in as much as there can be political, maybe one soup political plot to bring them down, if they are well grounded, there's no way you can break them down.
Going forward, you were in London, so
so
you have to.
Jata Cement definitely, you know, was that's Ibrahim Mahama is President Mahama's younger brother, but everybody in this country knows when he started his business. At the time he started, his brother was nowhere near the presidency, and so it would be foolhardy, excuse my language, for anybody to want to bring him down because his brother, or you hate his brother's presidential ambition, or you want to discredit his brother.
Now let's look at the positives, i.e. the gesture by government, which I see.
I was coming to that.
Commendable.
I was veering towards that. I wanted to just lay the foundation. So come 2021, a new dispensation, I should say, I'm sure they have learned their lessons. They've realized how badly the previous decisions, some of the previous decisions they took might have affected local industry. Because you see, there's no way you can neglect local industry, especially if you want to build a nation. Your indigents must carry a certain weight, you know, so they can weigh on your economics, your economy, you know, rather than to push back resources. Because once you bring in foreign investors, yes, we need them to create job opportunities and all of that. But once they make the money, they repatriate the best part of it. Okay, so how do you then, and even in such cases, they even bring to come and take
better.
Exactly. So it is all part of the reason we need to have our own indigenous companies well established in the country.
Should there be a national conversation? Because Jata Cement is a good example.
Right.
If you look at the value chain, we are told that 400 people are employed directly. Now imagine that the production line increases to 3 million, as the general manager said, when they are into full capacity.
Right.
Yesterday, for example, Alan Chamantin was mentioning $100 million when the factory, all the phases are complete. Now, if you look at the value chain, it means that my mother at Paga or your father at Sefi, at Kontombra, all these people who be distributors along the line, the construction industry, look at roads, look at buildings and so on, beyond the issue about capital flight that you spoke about. Now, you would have realized that over the years, the local construction industry has always been complaining that, is there a way government can support them? Today we know about the banking industry that very few are indigenous, majority are foreign, which also raises the question about how are we working towards collectively to ensure that beyond industry, we are also creating opportunities for us to protect the city, because that is the multiplier effect. Going forward, taking an example from this, should there be a national discourse where there should be some level of protection for indigenous businesses doing well?
Well, one cannot discount such an idea. Is the political will to do so that really matters? Because when you view some group of people as your opponents in all spheres, Of course, if it is political grounds, yes, let's do our politics. When we are down, let's draw the line where they form part of industry and they form part of other developmental, or whatever makes the country develop. Then you separate them in a manner that their political backgrounds will not or should not play any role in that discourse, because that is the only way you can put politics on one side and see value in somebody like Eric, who it may not necessarily like my face or like the things I do, but Eric has something that can build this or help build this nation. So put politics aside, go for Eric, let Eric bring his expertise to bear for all of us to benefit from what they have.
Now, yesterday I spoke to two prominent guests, lawyer Alexander Chumberema and then John Kwekumensa Mauto, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies. And they were speaking to the fact that there is the need for institutions to be strong enough to serve as resistance to some of these things. We have the Association of Ghana Industries. AGI, in my opinion, should be strong enough to serve as that breaker to prevent authority, either today or in future, from targeting businesses. In the same way, we have the local contractors associations and so on. But many times you see that the politicians find a way of infiltrating some of these institutions, even at the leadership, and use them as the poodles to drive their cause.
Yeah, you are so right, because that was the point I was going to make. Because, you see, these are institutions that otherwise should have stood in the gap to bring issues that bear on businesses, before government, and advocate for the very things we are asking. But here is the case: whenever they are supposed to go for their elections and others, the political parties, of course, my party hardly does a thing like that, because we believe that there must be that organic way of building this country. But I cannot say the same for the NPP. They seem to have infiltrated every corner. The other day, someone was telling me that even in secondary schools, among the teachers, they have planted, their own. So if any teacher raises something that has to do with the bad management at the GS level and all of that, then quickly they report to a certain authority, and before long that teacher is being sanctioned or being sent somewhere and all of that. So the kind of practice that in the last 4 years in terms of governance, it does not give the various institutions, as you mentioned, the associations, that leverage to stand in the gap and advocate for what is right and what is proper for their members, and that is a challenge that we've had over time. And I think government at this point, of course, it's a new era. I want to believe that the first 4 years has taught them some lessons, and this whole 3-4 months of pressure from the civil society and the general populace is beginning to bring upon some ideas. And I think when I saw the Safumafu visiting the plant and also the trade minister going, I mean, I was happy. I believe that these are good days ahead.
That's just one leg of this whole conversation.
Right.
The construction industry is huge, and government plays central role, because government must build roads, government must build schools, hospitals, government must be seen to be driving the real estate industry because of the housing deficit. We have seen what happened to GTP, ATL. These were indigenous companies, but because the state did not see them as institutions or companies they wanted to help grow, they ended up patronizing products from elsewhere, and these companies eventually collapsed. That is history. If you look at Commander Sugar Factory and several of the state companies that collapsed, that was the same trajectory. The Kumasi Shoe Factory, which was recently revived, is another example. Should government take this goodwill forward by deliberately collaborating with this company to create the market for them to produce more and to sustain their operations?
Eric, this shouldn't be a question, okay? It should be.
But you know, it's a concern.
No, I agree. But I mean, it shouldn't have been a question for a program like this. It should have been the norm, okay? Because that is the only way. That is the backbone that holds you. That is the spine that holds every country. Travel everywhere. I'm sure you will find every government trying to protect its own. The Chinese, even right into this country, they are protecting their staff, their work and their businesses that are established in this country. But here we are. We don't seem to have a plan that builds our own. We hate each other. We suspect each other. We frame up each other, because some of the reasons for which some of the banks were collapsed, I mean, you get to hear about them. This heritage issue, the fact that someone has a case in court and the court has not already
pronounced
judgment on the person, whether guilty or whatever. Just the fact that the guy has a case in court, the individual who owns the bank is not the entity. For that reason, a license will be withdrawn. For me, these are things that it's marks of hatred towards our own people and our own well-being. So if it's not about me and the group of people that I know and I subscribe to, then whoever is on the other side must be crushed. And for me, you don't build a nation with an attitude like that.
Kojo Eduasare is a former member of parliament. Is it Adenta?
Yes.
Good. And a former presidential staffer. I told you earlier that he's somebody who has done this for ages. How many years now? Talking on 14? Radio and television. 14.
Yeah.
So 14 years in Chebia.
Oh, my son, I gave you. Who about with the 14 crowds about now?
I with the 14 there.
No, it's not easy sitting behind the cameras and delivering from this head. I mean, you need to do a lot of research.
Now, we'll be moving on to other topics. I'm sure you followed the hashtag Fix the Country. The conveners are suggesting that, look, it is not something they intend to do because they want to embarrass this particular government, but it's a result of things that seem to be getting out of hand. Let me take your preliminary comment on what you have followed since Friday till yesterday, and then we can look at the detailed issues as the responses are coming in.
Okay. Well, we all woke up to that morning. I think it was last week around Thursday or so, and we all woke up to this fix the country. We took it as one of the social media craze that once a while it comes up in terms of a hashtag. Then all of a sudden it began to gain momentum, and it elicited a tweet from the Minister for Information. So that got me, a bit, I said, so all of a sudden this thing is beginning to, gain momentum. And by the following day, it had spread like wildfire, eliciting all manner of responses. And what even got people pissed off the more was the response from the MP for Adwajiri. That's right. Anodonpre. The language he used, I think it got people of their, wrong side. And so they also began to push a lot of money, drew a wider perspective into the argument. So now people started pushing for social stuff that they think should have been, because I thought that that week issue had to do with taxes, because that was when the taxes were taking effect. So that the momentum on the tax discussion was building up. Then this one took over. So I thought it was going to push towards the tax issue, but you realize that that was not the focus, but it was rather a general myriads of issues that they thought were going wrong, and for that matter needed to be addressed by the current government. And as I said, some of us don't want to be the ones pushing in or pissing in. Let the whole thing take its organic path. Let people push their agenda the way they want it. When the party has something to add, we will at the right time. The NPP and their cohort have tried to, invite us into the discussion by punching into our leadership and trying to draw in President Mahama and all of that. And
I saw a flyer suggesting that there was a bill that he was going to vote for the demonstration.
It was all part of the propaganda. They manufacture all kinds of things at the Jubilee House. They have a group of people who, manufacture stuff for the social media. They have a whole office with staff for.
Now let's look at
social media propaganda.
Let's look at how this is being managed. Obviously, it will dovetail into some of the responses by the Minister for Finance or Dr. Baumia or the Information Minister, because there is an attempt to tweak it to make it look like let's fix the country together. But we have three levels of Ghanaians. We have ordinary Ghanaians who are not working, who pay taxes indirectly and are also contributing their quota in one way or the other towards the development of the country. Then we have another group of Ghanaians who are benefiting from the taxpayer, and many of them are within the brackets of civil servants and public servants. Then we have those I will lump together with the executive as people in government who must ensure that the public purse is effectively managed and Parliament sits on the fence as a watchman. Now, in this stratum or structure that I have tried to put together, where will you apportion responsibilities and how we should be seen to be helping to move this country?
You see, I believe the response from government and its assigns in the form of other hashtags, fix yourself, fix your attitude and all of that, have not helped the discourse. I would have expected the government, because they are the ones we pay taxes to.
They are in charge.
They are in charge. They are the ones who have committed the next 4 years of the governance structure of this country into their hands. So when they have to, I expect them to, try to push for information from these people. What exactly do you mean when you ask for, like what you say, fix the country? Which areas, which let me say area of development in particular are you making references to? Because if you don't do that, that is where you get the likes of Dr. Baumia and others, everybody trying to proffer their perspective of a response of a sort. You understand? So the whole thing is not well coordinated.
Yes, we'll look at that. I would want us to take a short break. When we come back, you will see something special.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural, mixed, mineral, water.
still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. This is TV Xyz. This is Xyz TV. I've told you that you can send us your WhatsApp messages later on this program, 0556-999-999. I'm in the studio with Kojo Edu Asare, a former member of parliament for Adenta, a former presidential staffer. And then, of course, Joe Jackson has joined us, Director of Operations, Dalex Finance, and he's with us. I'm so happy to have you in the studio again, sir. Good. How is it?
Fantastic. Good to be here too.
I like your choice of words. Fantastic.
It's good to be alive, regardless of the challenges. We have faith and hope that we will move forward.
Right.
Whatever happens.
And that's on a positive note.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I just want to give you an overview of what you may have missed, or perhaps if you were monitoring us on Facebook, you would have noticed that there's a conversation about the visit to the Jatta cement, which many see as a positive note because it demonstrates a new phase towards dealing with local or indigenous businesses that are perceived to be owned by people belonging to the other side. And then we moved into the hashtag Fix the Economy, which has several strands. And this conversation would also look at some attempt at responding to the demands by those who are convening this campaign. And then if there is time, we'll look at Galamsey, because there is some controversy. The controversy is arising from the renewed effort and claims by small-scale miners that government seems to be protecting the multinationals and the local, the indigenous Ghanaian small-scale miners are lumped together with illegal miners. And if before 2020 they lost their business, the new fight should not again strangulate them. And the fact that some national security operatives are deeply involved, and just last week, I'm sure you may have heard about the Tiwa arrest. Yesterday in court, the judge said she could not detain or grant bail to the suspects because the Attorney General's Department had failed to present to the court the charges against those operatives, raising suspicion that there may be another attempt of covering up to expose the identity of these people. Edu Asare was on the floor. I'll give him just a minute to wrap up on his earlier submission on Fix the Country, and then I will welcome you with your comment while you relax. Edu Asare, let's move on.
All right. Yeah, as I was saying, I was expecting the government to drill down on what exactly the group that convened the conveners of the Fix the Country, what exactly are their issues and what are they expecting to be addressed, what are the timelines and so on, so that they can zoom in on things that can be done in the first year, things that can be done in the second year, things that can be done in the third year, and things that can be done in the fourth year, so we can monitor. You understand? But to rehash the previous refrain that we've all been used to. We are going to put 200 million in this, we are going to extend this, we will do this and we will do that, and those things did not happen in the last 4 years. It makes the whole thing appear like a whitewash. We just want, these guys, let's find something to tell them, calm them down. And again, the posturing of the police, even to prevent them from going to express themselves. You see, what this government is likely to face is a very volatile period between now and by the time they end their fourth year. Because if you bottle up people for a very long time, the kind of explosion you would, because it doesn't, it's like gas. As you compress it in a space and you don't give it that respite to blow out, please, it would explode. Okay, so give them the opportunity, guide them, let them do the, vent them their spleen, read whatever is on their placards, and note them down, and then come up and find the solution.
I'll take that as your opening remark because we spent time on this particular subject. Joe Jackson, I've monitored you on a few platforms, and so you have been speaking to the issue. I want to open it because I don't have any specific question, and I will let your opening remark determine how we chat this conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much. And, the interesting thing is this. When you talk about this fix the country hashtag and its related hashtags, the issue is that it is actually an expression of anger, of frustration, right? Which is non-partisan, which is not really because of media meddling or anything else. People are just unhappy. What are they unhappy about? They're unhappy about because they don't have jobs. They're unhappy because they don't like the public services. They think, when they look back, they say, think about power. They are, I don't want to call it doomsday, but whatever name you give it, the past doesn't seem to be reliable anymore. Our education, our roads, the health services, and it goes on and on and on. And the issue is that really we're unhappy with all this, and at the same time there's a perception that there's increasing corruption. So when you combine all of this, now I'm a young man or young woman or whatever you call it, and I just don't see where we're going. And it's an expression of dashed hopes. Because you see, back at the beginning of 2017, and I put the marker when we had the State of the Nation address, everyone was filled with hope. We felt we're going somewhere. Fast forward 5 years, what do we have? Horrendous increases in cost of living. Taxes that bedevil us all the way. And remember that when we talk about taxes and increases in the cost of living, let's be clear. These taxes are indirect taxes, which means you can't avoid them. And they are levied on basic goods and services. So what, and also, and I'm going to land on a particular point. Let's be clear what the issue is. When those taxes hit you, they will hit that lady or that gentleman that cleans the studio harder than they hit me. Why? As a proportion of the money they earn, what they will pay in increased VAT, what they will pay in increased transportation and costs, takes a larger chunk of their salary away than it will take for me. I'm a blessed member of the society, and I can't take that away from you. Are blessed, you're also blessed. So what we have to understand, and I've used the term tone deaf in some of my tweets, I'm sure you've heard it, that the government is tone deaf. What I mean is that it is the increasing inequality, it is the increasing evidence of conspicuous consumption. It is when I am broke and tired and sitting by the roadside with nothing to do, and I see a car pass with lights flashing, then I get frustrated and angry. So, in a way in which it's sometimes difficult to express to the politicians that be and the powers that be, is that the more you trumpet your achievements, the more me I see, and when I say me, I'm not talking about me as Joe Jackson, but those who are expressing their dissatisfaction. The more they see that You see, you are saying we have had growth. But because of corruption and because of who you are, it hasn't touched me. Then you say we've created 2 million jobs. I don't know, but I don't see those 2 million jobs. Listen.
But they mention some specific references.
Yes, you see, let's be clear. If today I go outside and I find somebody standing outside and I say, take 20 cedis, clean my car. Take 10 cedis, clean my car. I've given that person a job. I've given him something to live by. But I'll drive out and go home. If you count that as a job, well, maybe you'll get to 2 million jobs by the time I go and come a few times to your studio.
Because there'll be several 20 cities which will not get anywhere.
But that's not a job.
Sustainable.
That's not sustainable. A job is that I wake up and I have a plan and I know what I'm doing and I can expect a certain amount of money to come to me. So when you go and you say, go and spray a cocoa farm, it's a job. Go and weed, it's a job. Maybe the 2 million we can. But you see some of the statistics, and you see, I know that some of the government says disprove that I haven't created 2 million. I will also say let's do some rational estimation. Ghana population, what, 30 million? Good estimate. Active working population because of the structure of because there are more young people, right? 15 million. Oga, if 15 million workers, you create 2 million jobs, we will feel it. If we have created 2 million jobs.
So obviously there are serious concerns that need to be addressed.
Yes, and you have to understand that the concerns are about inequality. It's about conspicuous consumption. It's about dashed hopes. Rather than, so any debate where I sit here and we say, so I grew the economy, and you say you didn't grow the economy by enough, and we borrowed, and you borrowed too much, does not address the issue.
There's a new narrative, and I'll come to you shortly, a new narrative which is suggesting that we are fixing it. We cannot fix it in a day. And that is why the problems have existed. And in Baumir's attempt to respond, he lists 70 items, which I'm sure you have seen, and suggests that they are part of the process.
You see, when you don't diagnose the problem properly, right, you cannot profess a solution that will work. The problem is that I'm frustrated because I have dashed hopes. I'm frustrated because cost of living is gone up. Telling me about what you will do, I'll say, listen, one of the things that we can do quickly to bring everybody's temperature down is to see that truly the burden is shared. That truly we don't have ministers and demonstrate the things that upset us. You see, when I have a family and my wife and children feel that life is hard, but you, daddy, you are still enjoying life, the rest of us are suffering. Maybe it is time to start eating gari with them. Not that maybe truly I'm suffering in my pocket, but if they think that they eat gari and I go out and buy fufu and meat and chop, maybe when I start eating gari with them, then we can all, temperatures will come down. Does it mean the problem will be fixed tomorrow? No. We are fixing it does not address my frustration. We are fixing it does not address my dashed hopes. We are fixing it, and it's easy for us to say we are fixing it. We've done this. We are going to do Obatampa. We're going to put 200. So what should I do? Today, as we sit, state enterprises are destroying value. The heads of those state enterprises are political appointees. Today, as we sit, ministers have 4x4s, etc. That irritates us. Maybe, and let's know, the Minister of Finance drives a Katanka. Maybe if all ministers drove a Katanka, temperatures will come down. At least we can't complain also. Okay, Katanka is one of us. He has a business here. Maybe if we stopped the propaganda and said, I raise my hand, things are tough. Listen, we are in this together. Let's hold hands, all of us in this family. Let's accept that we are in this together, that life is hard. Maybe my temperature will come down. Right? When life is hard and the accusation is that you, daddy, you are eating fufu and soup, the rest of us are eating gari, and all I say is that, but I'm looking for a job, I've applied for 3 jobs. How does that solve the fufu and gari problem?
Now, let me come to you, Mr. Edwasari, and I see some exciting comments that must weave into national discourse. So we have a country that has seen wastage over the years, because somebody will say, if under Kwame Nkrumah's regime, the industries that were operating had been expanded till today, maybe Ghana would have been a different thing. If successive governments over the years had done what was expected, perhaps would have gone a step further. Beyond that, if the promises were tailored towards what is achievable, maybe public expectation wouldn't be as high. And he lands on a note that the posturing of government today will determine whether people would have the trust to work along and give them space to fix what must be fixed. At this stage, if you were in government, what would you expect to be done?
You see, why this group who the conveners of this fix the country thing, I think we should, by now, as a country, know which direction this government is taking us. That could have also helped to reduce the pressure. Because take sector by sector, education, where is it taking us? Even with the free SHS as part of it. The free SHS took a central, posture or position among all other aspects of education. To the extent that we also forgot that by the time this first group of free SHS graduates exit, there will be a choke somewhere at the tertiary level. Are you aware today some universities are running double track? You understand? So how do you plan a country that way? Knowing very well that, you see, I always use the ring road and the circle interchange, the overpass. You try driving from the Silver Cap traffic light towards the circle. It's like that. You fly over speed, but by the time you go down towards the cemetery, cemetery, you go past the cemetery, then you begin to choke, because the road there and the traffic at the roundabout will pull you down. So right after planning the circle interchange, there was another plan to look at the vigilante circle, so that the purpose of the circle interchange can be achieved. Because if you do a circle and you leave Obechebi, you have not solved the problem. So if you concentrate on free SHS without thinking ahead, that look, a number of these students at the free SHS level, once they exit, they are going to go into the university, and you don't plan anything for the university, then we are going to face the problems we are.
So this is an example of the mistakes we've done in terms of planning ahead.
Exactly, and that is what people are venting, because the frustration cuts across. Parents are struggling at giving the free SHS level, and once they are done with that, The struggle continues at the university level. They are work for the education side. Come to energy. We planned ahead that look, we don't want to veer back into the doom-saw era. So let's have enough generation capacity to the extent that we can even export some. What did we need at the time to create the pylons that will carry the power to whichever country, be it Burkina Faso or which other?
I know there's a policy. Yes. They call it the West Africa Power Pool,
exactly,
which is a combination of effort from countries within the sub-region to share power among themselves. So is that what you are referring to?
Exactly. So where did we end with that policy? So now this so-called subscription of power is sitting there. According to this government, we are paying extra money for it, and we are not making good use of it. To the extent that our old or obsolete cables and transformers are beginning to give us problems. So what were we thinking? What were we planning? How were we looking ahead, especially in the energy sector? So it has brought up frustration into the system. People who a few years ago thought, oh, we have had enough of doom-saw situation, all of a sudden are beginning to regenerate that whole idea. So these are
you are making good point. But I listened to a certain song which talks about the animal kingdom, where one animal is under the tree and talks to a bird up there to stop making noise, otherwise the hunter will come. If you look at the constitution and the structures we have in governing this country, we have various sectors which must either speak out, play watchdog roles, expose people, and ensure the right things are done. I'll come to you, but Joe, looking at what we refer to as the Arab Spring, or perhaps the violence that have been reported in other countries, is there any lesson to be learned from what is happening in this country, as Edwasari said, that it will get to a saturation point where things can explode?
You know, I like the Arab Spring should be a lesson to all of us. And I assure you there are numerous studies after of what happened in those countries: Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Algeria, those countries in those days, 10 years ago. There are certain things that we should look at and be careful about. Number one, those countries were actually growing before the Arab Spring happened. So just telling us that the country is growing doesn't solve the problem. What was marked about those countries was not the lack of growth, it was the growing inequality between rich
and poor.
And the statistics in Ghana are scary. Let me give you some of there's an Oxfam report that I will recommend to all of us who are in policy making and have other voices. There's an Oxfam report on Ghana, inequality by numbers. Some of it are scary to tell you that a typical rich person in Ghana consumes more in 1 month or earns more in 1 month than a poor woman can earn in 1,000 years. It says that between 2006 and 2016, 1,000 more dollar millionaires were created in this country. It says that the top 10% of this country consume 32% of all the resources. The bottom 10% consume 2% of resources. And this goes on and on and on. Some of it is even startling. It says only 6% of the people that we can call wealthy in this country are women. Only 6% of wealthy people are women, but women yet form 54% of this country. So it has multiple dimensions. But the one thing we can learn from the Arab Spring is that the frustration was born out of growing inequality, and inequality is growing. So when you look at the Arab Spring and you look at the triggers, and you look here and you look at that popular expression of frustration, fix the country, fix the mother Ghana, fix Ghana now, and fix whatever you call it, we are not addressing the problem.
You see, Joe, it's unfortunate that all of you are making so much exciting points that I find it difficult to move on to the other people. So I want to talk about this here. You know, I've heard this before, that if the rich continue to be rich and leave out the poor will become the robbers who will hunt them.
Yes.
There's another perception which is widespread about the fear of the state capture factor.
Yes.
And we also have that concern about unnecessary appetite for wealth. So somebody like you who is rich would want to be richer.
I'm not sure about calling me rich, but
how do you marry all these things towards a better solution which should be of interest to all of us?
You see, there are some signposts that are there, right? To create a wealthier country, some people are going to be, as a country, some individuals, like the fingers, we are all not of the same. So this finger will be longer than that finger. That's not the problem. But the fingers must all grow, right? Or we must see all of us, even if somebody is running at a faster pace, I'm also walking ahead. Or, well, still, I'm also crawling. But if that person is running, and I feel that he's running because he's suppressing me by pushing me back, then I get angry. So listen, it's okay for some people. We're not advocating a communist system, but we are saying that let us have a system that tries to pull everybody along. Let's have a system where we share the burden. When we have a country where you own property, you don't pay property taxes, and yet the taxes cannot be avoided by the non-property owning class, then the non-property owning class have a cause to be angry. Because everywhere in the world, the greatest form of taxes are wealth taxes. Why is it that in Ghana we find it so hard to collect wealth taxes? Why is it that wealth taxes have been collected before the digital revolution started? Why is it that all now we are saying that we can only collect wealth taxes if we have digitized everybody? So in the US, before 1980, when the digital revolution started, we're then not collecting wealth taxes. In the UK, we're then not collecting wealth taxes. It just seems like a reason to, as we call, kick the can further down the road and keep some of us feeling frustrated.
Okay.
As a blessed member of society, you know what worries me? If we don't listen, and he talked about allowing people to vent, if we don't listen, the next time I come, they will look at me, nobody will remember that maybe I spoke up for fix the country. All they'll look at is the size of my stomach and the size of my body and the clothes that I'm wearing. And then I'll be caught up.
I'll ask for you, then they will beat you.
It is true.
But let me go to you.
And then I'll be living in my house.
Meanwhile, you are a member of, or you subscribe with the Fix the Country hashtag.
I'm not a member of the movement.
You subscribe.
The movement, by its nature, excludes someone like me. But I can identify with their challenges. You see, I don't have to be a member of a movement to see that I don't have to be a poor man to see that the poor man is suffering. Right? Christ was not a sinner, but he knew what the sinners went through.
Let me go to Mr. Edu Asare. I'll spend some 5 minutes with you. Now, Mr. Asare, in his submission, he talks about, or there's an element of some solution that can be found. Yesterday, the gentlemen who were with us were very worried about a national development plan that has always been in the books. I've always asked questions whether it makes sense to continue to pay those working at NDPC when every policy they formulate, together with all stakeholders, and I'm sure you and I and Mr. Joe Jackson have attended some of these workshops where you have MPs from both sides, and these are experienced hands, and they bring all the technocrats, sometimes foreign hands, consultants to come and shape policies that should be the blueprint. They are always shelved. And then you also have government as an institution over the years, because if I was in government today or maybe tomorrow, if I'm earning 30,000, 40,000, 80,000, which is enough compared to 1,000 I am earning today, I'm still going to enjoy free electricity, free water, all the freebies, which goes to add up to the comfort which he prescribes or tries to paraphrase. Now, if we are looking at fix the country, and we all agree that there is a problem, should there be a discourse towards making sure we stop all these things like Rwanda did, which has told a success story there?
Well, you know, the Rwanda story is a different story because, of course, at the time they came to ground zero and they had to start afresh. And so it was quite obvious that they had to take a certain stand if they want to develop their country. And that stand they took has worked for them to a large extent. Here in our country, I don't know whether we are going to ever go to that ground zero to go and start afresh.
God forbid.
You see, so no, I'm not even in that respect as in the Rwanda case. But what would occasion that ground zero experience? So we are at a certain level that we can build upon. Like you were talking about, we had industries when we were growing up. We saw all manner: meat marketing board, Ghana food distribution, cars assembly plant, Boafo, Boame, all manner of things. You see, everything. Look, there are things we can do in this country that within 1 year will transform this country. One policy: every government staff should wear a uniform. Do you know how much job that can create for Ghanaians? And those uniforms should be sewn in this country. Do you know how many industries will come and set up factories to produce those uniforms that the fabrics that will be used for the uniform? In those days, that was the case. If your sister was working in a school, the teachers had uniforms. The school children had uniforms. Soldiers had uniforms. If ministry staff had uniforms.
So that's in one way or the other is creating opportunity for the textile industry.
Wonderful. That is one. Go to the whatever. Now the windows in the ministries, they import. People go and take measurements of the windows and then they send it to China. They sold the whole thing from China and come and hang it here in Ghana. If all ministries, department, agencies of governments, district assemblies,
you know that this narrative, this pledge, we have heard it. Oh, let's Yendi made in Ghana food. So we'll issue directives. Ghana Armed Forces, Ghana Police Service, all secondary schools buy farm produce here and let us create the opportunity. It will create jobs along the chain.
Yes.
We abandon it. What didn't we do about the local textile industry?
Then why are we crying?
So who should talk and how can we get there?
As we sit here in this office, all we are in this studio, all we are doing is to proffer solutions. Okay, we are part of Ghana. My children, my daughter is 26, the first one, second one is 21. University, the first one has finished her master's. She's now using maybe like the first degree to work because nobody will employ her with a master's degree at this point. You see, so we are not left out of the challenge. We are all part of it. Even though somebody will look at me and think that I'm okay, I can take care of this and that and that and that, I cannot continue to take care of my 26-year-old child. She has to build her own future. So we are looking for solutions. And like I said earlier, that the group should be able to come up and pressure government to the point where government will come with, look, first 1-year program, first 2-year program, first 3-year program, which can be monitored. And these are some of the things I'm talking about. Policies that can transform this country. If we decide to buy furniture, only Ghanaian-made furniture for our ministry departments and agencies, that will create jobs for this number of youth. Because I had a carpentry shop that employed at about 30 people. Eventually, it got down to 3, and I just gave it out to the senior person to run. And some of the staff who were skilled staff, upholsters, sprayers, and whatever, they went to look for jobs in filling stations and others.
And that business is
gone because we are not patronizing our own.
Joe Jackson, listen to him, and then let me read out what the finance minister says, because he talked about timelines. Now, finance minister in his press statement 2 days ago says, I am working with the Minister for Water and Sanitation to immediately ensure potable water to areas with felt need, especially in the most urban areas. Second, I'm working with the Minister of Roads and Highways, Transport and Interior to address congestion along the highways. Third, we are fast-tracking the implementation of $200 million jobs and skills program to enhance job creation significantly. And I'm sure you know, you've heard about this already. Then fourth, starting this month, we are rolling over 8 additional interventions under the Ghana Cares or Batampa program. This will be in the health, agriculture, tourism, trade, digitization, science and technology, housing and financial services. And fifth, by the end of July, we'll have a new development bank that will provide long-term wholesale financing to the private sector through commercial banks. This is the Finance Minister of Ghana. Solutions, timelines embedded there. Your reaction?
This is why I call it tone deaf. Where are the timelines for corruption?
And he was silent on corruption there.
Where are the timelines for reducing the size of government?
Nothing there.
So, if my frustration has to do with the perception of corruption, the size of government, the conspicuous consumption, and you tell me this, do you think I'll be less frustrated? And that's why I say, you hear, but you don't understand me. I'm not communicating with you. Because my frustration is built out of certain things. And if you don't understand where my frustration is coming from, you will tell me this, which won't change anything. It's not. If it was as simple as give us water on some urban areas, decongest some roads, life would be that simple.
I see the element of yaya henadwene ewie into moba kebia yenti.
Debi
SMM fix economy.
We didn't
check that na mona mrutunyi.
Pocho meba wankade
no so ameriya no so still and so what I'm saying,
wankade fix the economy,
fix the country.
My ya chenye de. Hine bushi. Ibi mu ezizija oye nyibe.
I remember Richard.
Ezizija oye nyibe. Enti me problem ni de ezizija bi mo. Enti fix that one. Yankade grow the economy. Yankade say you. And you see, forgive me, but we need to listen beyond some of the indicators that are for our frustration and deal with the root cause of frustration. Today, if you deal with corruption, if you give us a way of dealing with corruption, if you give us a way of reducing government size properly, temperatures will come down. And let us be clear, This is not an MPP problem. It is both MPP and DC. And here Ghana for ya there a table tennis ball. Pa.
But
let's say you know be abo. Pa no so smash. Main point. No aje.
No, but you do.
No, but you do.
Sorry. Let me put it this way. When the president spoke to CNN, he suggested that government is fighting corruption. He has been consistent on this. The public may have their own perception, and we have a problem to solve. Government ordinarily, as a political party there, will not admit flaws as openly as we wish. Do you anticipate a point where we may go back to the coup days? Because I know soldiers and policemen are very angry, and people don't know where Ghana's focus is going forward.
I will proffer a solution to that last part, and it must, if it must be done, it must be done quickly. The fact that we have pushed our soldiers into the barracks, waiting for peacekeeping assignments outside the country, so we push them in. Otherwise, they stay there and we feed them and pay them salaries. For me, does not make any sense. I would suggest that the Field Engineers Regiment of the military, they have a man, like years ago when we were growing up, whenever you find a bridge that is damaged somewhere, they had their own equipment to push it there to go and fix those bridges. They were fixing roads. They were doing all manner of engineering developments that had to do with engineering. Why won't we reserve part of our engineering works to that engineering regiment, so that we employ or recruit more soldiers in that field, our engineers into that field, and push them out there? Ghanaians, trust me, that if there's one group of people that Ghanaians are, or they respect, I won't say they are afraid of, it's the military. And we all saw it during the Rollins era, Champon era, and co. We saw it. I believe even our sanitation, the sector, if we gave it to the military to manage, Accra will be, not only Accra, the entire cities around the country will see a much better whatever that we are seeing right now.
Okay, so
all I'm trying to say is that you don't leave the military people in the barracks and leave them there unattended, thinking that as and when you want to use them for all kinds of puppet job, you go and use them for it. Let's get them engaged in our system. Let them feel part of our country and the nation building. That is the only way we can avert what you were talking about. But
okay, I don't know your brief comment. We have 10 minutes left. Okay. I'll reserve 5 minutes or 4 minutes to read text messages. Okay. I'll give you 3 minutes each.
Okay.
Either we stay at this subject, or we speak to the growing concern about the need for a national discourse on helping to improve the implementation of the education policies, or we speak to how government is managing Galamsey. 3 minutes each. Let me start with Joe Jackson. Choose anyone. Stay with this conversation or choose any of the two. Pass a brief comment by way of advice or concern, and I move to Edu Asare.
I want to talk about education.
Right.
I want to talk about education and the fact that all of us welcomed free education. But the implementation has left us has left a sour taste in our mouth, in that we're looking at these kids and we're looking at the double track system and we are asking ourselves, do we get enough contact hours? When I look back at my own school days and how long I spent in school for a year and how quickly these children are in and out of school. My niece was over in our house this weekend to come in on Mother's Day, and I said, Mama Canada, see I'm crying, and and she's at home. So there needs to be a discussion about that. That discussion should go beyond just free education, double track, the feeding. It should also extend to, so what happens when all these graduates are channeled out? Where do they go? Are we expecting all of them to go to universities? Albeit technical or the old style universities? Are we going to give them jobs? What jobs? The universities are increasingly having a problem. You see, so the education sector, we need an end-to-end holistic discourse.
Land in a minute.
The problems are there. At this moment, you better start looking at fixing it. Else, all we are doing is heaping more fire on the fix the country frustration.
Mr. Dwasari, you have 3 minutes.
You see, Mr. Joe Jackson, maybe I'm surprised you came up with this bit of it, because it sounds like you did not follow the NDC's trajectory that it had planned towards this issue you just raised. The fact that we noticed that there was going to be a certain overflow of students, that classrooms that we may need to give them whatever accommodate. Yes. So this 200 e-blocks was planned. That was to take extra numbers that could not find its way into whatever. So that was one of the plans. The TVET plan, which we also started to a certain extent, also the technical polytechnics that were converted into technical universities. It was to take.
What about the other aspect, which is now tertiary institutions, yes, nursing training, teacher training? Yes, because all these were areas where students.
The teacher training, whatever institutions were the ones that were good. Some have been upgraded to university level. Okay, to accommodate the teacher training, whatever, those who were going into teacher training, to also feed the growth in that sector that we are talking about.
You see that there was a controversy there.
Which controversy?
I see from the explanation you are given as something that should be for national conversation, yes, for all of us to buy in. Yes. Where the government at that time said, we are suspending allowances, save that money for expansion projects, create space.
Exactly.
And then there was another
to create, not only to create space, but to level, because we have other students.
There was another school of thought that there are poor students who also need some support to go to school. And so that division became politics.
You see,
and that's where we are.
You see, let's be honest. I believe this government, if they had the opportunity to abolish any policy, it would have been that allowance that they gave to nurses and teachers, because for 8 months they haven't been able to pay. I'm sure you've heard that story. Do you understand? What would be the difference if you have 2 kids, one going through the regular university system and the other one going to tertiary university?
It's like I put some food on the table and it's too hot that it will rather annoy you when I tell you to start eating. You would have wished to say more, but we don't have time. But I'm reading messages.
No problem.
And then see what we can do. Joe Jackson, the way you are looking at me. The one. So this one says, I'm Kamal Dean, watching you live from Kumasi in Shire. So it's so sad to hear citizens of this country saying, due to an increase on unemployment within the country, illegal mining activities we know will be the next cause. I'll make the messages very short. This one says, the good people of Ghana have been given us mandate to get things done. We thank President Akufo-Addo for fixing it. This one says, it's from Mukaila Jonas from Kerry. I don't know where Kerry is. It said the fact that The fact of the matter is that we cannot fight Galamsey completely as a nation, and if babies with sharp teeth will refuse to reform their minds and join the fight, because the more President Akufo-Addo rolls out measures to fight the menace, the more NDC muddies the waters. I don't really understand the import of the message. Boshaba says, because the president has good policy and intervention, the NDC party is going to be in opposition forever. It has nothing to do with the discourse. Maybe I'll start selecting what is part of this conversation. Nanado and NPP are not ashamed of themselves. You handed over yourself to Nanado 4 years ago, and you are still blaming John Mahama for all the problems. I really like your show, but the lady can talk. I like her though. This one is Larry Owusu. I'm sure you are talking about Habana. But you like her, and I'm sure whatever she says makes sense. And so I don't know what really your complaint is. Last one, our NPP communicators telling us that the NDC that thinks for the rest of us Ghanaians are not partisan, then they should stop their disrespect and stupid. Sorry, I'll leave that one. There are several text messages. I'll leave them and then we'll move on. Joe Jackson, your last message to Ghanaians.
Well, my last message always is a message of hope, that this discussion must be continued, and that we have hope. Whatever happens, we have to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. But at the same time, we have to aggressively face our realities and challenges as a society and as people, so that we can move forward.
That's your last word to Ghanaians.
Well, I think whether we like it or not, the NPP has been re-elected into government. We have to give them the opportunity to prove to us what stuff they are made of this time. Because the first 4 years is what people are basing on to vent this or their spleen on them. So if there's anything they want to prove, this is the opportunity that Ghanaians have given to them. They should prove themselves.
Yes. All right. So Ishraba Anelka says this is there's nothing to be fixed in this country at all, because we have good and listening President Nana Akufo-Addo. Sorry. This one says, hi, good morning. I love your show. I'm Justice. Justice, you didn't tell me where you sent us this message from. Though, throughout history, positive defiance and brave action has also always led to the collapse of broken systems like ours under Nana Akufo-Addo. The court restriction is only meant to suppress your historic action, but don't defeat, march on, fix the country. My regards to Honorable Davido Mustafa from Lower Manya Krobo. Sent this, and on that note, I want to say a big thank you to Joe Jackson, the operations manager, director, of course, at Dalex Finance, and Edu Asare Kojo is a former member of parliament for Adenta and a former presidential staffer, a good friend of mine, and a former carpenter. Thank you. On behalf of Abena, I say bye-bye to all of you.